Here's a flyover view of our 2023 Nepal Kanchenjunga trek. We started in Sikatham, and our first hike up was from Sikatham to Amjalosa. This guide is showing some trails that go around landslides that we didn't have to do, so we stayed by the river more than this route that's showing. It's still jungle, and gradually it got a little bit less moist and a little cooler as we went up. Wasn't that long a hike, but we made it to Amjalosa. Spent one night there. Then headed out for Gyabla. Now we alternated between being by the river and being so far above it that if we fell off the trail, we'd probably die. Either the fall would kill us or we'd go into the glacier water and get destroyed. But we didn't fall, thank goodness, and made it up. Gyabla. It was rainy at the end of our trek to that. The next day, pretty short day. We added extra stops to make sure that we could acclimatize. So we're headed for Phale, Phale. So it was kind of a cloudy day and it started raining right at the end. And Phale was a welcome sight, going past the yaks in the mist. The next morning we saw wonderful This was another short day, going from Phale to Gunsa. We spent 2 days there. We needed an extra day to acclimatize. We had espresso at a coffee shop, and on our day off, our supposed day off, we actually did a hill climb for more acclimatization, but this route, this map would not show that route, so we left Gunsa on our way to Kanchenjunga. It was gentle grades for most of it along the Gunsa River. A lovely sunny day for most of our walk. The last bit was on the end moraine of the Janu Glacier. We didn't see the glacier, just the rubble at the end. Crossed over the bridge and then arrived at Kampachan or Kambakchen. The next day was a rest day, but what we really did is went for a acclimatization hike. We didn't cross over the river this way. We went back to the bridge. But the app doesn't know that route. So it was surprisingly high because of the altitude. It wasn't challenging hiking. It was just very exhausting to hike at the altitude, but this was the day with the best views for the whole trip. It was spectacular. It's also a pilgrimage point for a certain tribe. It's been a long time, and as the clouds moved in, we headed down. It was hard to leave, it was so beautiful. Headed right back to our same lodge in Kanchenjunga. I was having trouble acclimatizing it. We were supposed to continue on for 2 more days and go to the North Base Camp, but I was not acclimatizing, and then we made the difficult decision to not do that base camp and add extra time so that we wouldn't have to rush as much at the end of the trek. So we headed back down to Gunsa. Down the same route that we had come up, along the Gunsa River. Went back to the same great lodge that we stayed in Gunsa. Then when we left Gunsa, we were going to head over the passes to get to the other side, to get to where the South Base Camp is. So we climbed up over the valley of Gunsa. Had a really great lunch at a little tea house that's at a viewpoint. Then continued on and made it to the Salele camp. Knew the next day was going to be a long one. We got up before daylight. We had headlamps on. And we started hiking in the alpine environment up there. It was cold. Went through one, that's the first pass. It's known as 3 passes. This is the second pass, and this is the last pass. By this point, it had clouded up. There were no views from the last pass. Headed down, had a snack at the tea house before the big descent to Sarum. Now we're the other side, where the other glacier is, and where the South Base Camp is. Spent the night there, and then headed up. Suddenly we're beside the side moraine of the glacier. You can't see the glacier because there's 100 feet of border of moraine piled up next to you like a long hill. That's an interesting landscape. We passed many yaks to a very, very rustic location called Ramche. Our very basic room had yak poo, yak patties all over the outside as insulation. And the next morning got up very early and headed up to the viewpoint to see Kanchenjunga itself. Amazing view. We were racing the clouds. As we were there, the clouds came in and covered up the view. I took a lot of pictures, and it was the highest point that we made for the whole trek. And after the cold and the clouds blocked us out, we headed back. We knew we had a long route down because we didn't stop at Ramche again. We went by it. Went all the way down in one shot back to Cherm. Actually spent the night at Sarum. Next morning, headed down the valley. We're on our way out now. To Turtong or Turangdan. That was our last night of walking at a lovely lodge there. And then we headed out the next morning for our last day of trekking, of walking. It's a long, very wet day. I actually found it miserable. It was the only time I felt sort of uncomfortable and exhausted on the whole trip. I actually think the trail was rerouted to the other side of the valley that this is showing in the old trail. But this is the same valley. They couldn't get the routing software to show the very end of the trip. It only took us within, a mile and a half of where the actual end of our trek was, in a town called Ranapol. This is where the software stops, but if you there's a label for Lalap, and that is actually the town just below Sakatham where we started. Little meeting of valleys there. And next day we got on a jeep to head back to Tapoljong.